Doctor struck the nurse and had her removed, but karma arrived the very next morning. Before we begin, let us know where you're watching from. Drop a comment below and enjoy the story.
My name's Martha, and I've been a nurse for going on 25 years. I've seen a lot, believe me. I've seen joy that could light up a whole city and sadness that could drown it. But what I saw last Tuesday, that was something different. That was just plain ugly. It was one of those days on the surgical ward. You know the kind. Short-staffed, patients needing everything at once. Doctors barking orders. We were all running on fumes and lukewarm coffee. One of our younger nurses, bless her heart, is named Chloe. She was maybe 2 years out of nursing school, still a bit green, but so eager, so kind. Always had a smile for the patients, even the grumpy ones. She was the type who'd remember. If Mrs. Henderson in room 3 liked an extra pillow, or if Mr. Davies in room 5 preferred his tea week. Little things, but they mean a lot. Then there was Dr. Alistair Struck. A K. That's his real name, though most of us just called him Dr. Struck behind his back, and not in a good way. He was a brilliant surgeon, no doubt about it. His hands could work miracles, but his temper. Lord, his temper was a thing of legend. He was arrogant, impatient, and he treated nurses like we were invisible, or worse. Incompetent gnats buzzing around his important work. He'd snap, he'd belittle, he'd throw charts. We'd all learn to walk on eggshells around him so. Tuesday afternoon. The air was thick with that pre-storm tension. Dr. Struck had just finished a long, complicated surgery, and he was already wound tighter than a cheap watch. He came storming onto the ward, looking for Chloe. She was at the nurse's station, carefully drawing up some medication for a patient. "Nurse," he barked. His voice always had this sharp edge, like broken glass. Chloe looked up, a little startled. "Yes, Dr. Struck. The post-op orders for Peterson in 302. Did you or did you not administer the pain medication I prescribed on schedule?" Chloe frowned slightly, consulting the chart. Mr. Peterson reported his pain was well managed with the current dose, doctor. He actually refused the last scheduled PRN an hour ago. I documented it right here, and I was just about to check on him again. Now, to you and me, that sounds like good nursing, assessing the patient, not just blindly dosing. But Dr. Struck, he didn't see it that way. His face went a sort of blotchy red. "Refused. You should have persuaded him, or called me. Do you think these orders are suggestions, nurse?" Chloe stood her ground. Bless her. "With all due respect, doctor," he was comfortable. "I didn't want to over-medicate, and he was adamant. I was following patient-centered care principles. That was like waving a red flag at a bull. Patient-centered care." He sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "Your job is to follow my orders, not to philosophize. You incompetent little And then it happened. Before any of us could even gasp, his hand flew out and he struck her. Not a gentle tap. A full, hard slap across her face. The sound echoed in the sudden silence of the nurse's station. It was so sharp, so violent. Chloe stumbled back, her hand flying to her cheek, her eyes wide with shock and hurt. A bright red mark was already blooming on her skin. I felt my own blood run cold, then hot with rage. Old Jenkins, who was inputting data, dropped his pen. Sarah, another nurse, just froze, her mouth agape. Tears welled in Chloe's eyes, but she didn't make a sound. She just stared at him. This small, wounded bird. Dr. Struck, if anything, looked even angrier. Like it was her fault he'd lost. Control. You are a danger to my patients, he roared. I want her off my service, off this ward. Get her out of here, now. Our head nurse, Mrs. Davies, a woman who usually had a backbone of steel, looked pale, but she stepped forward. Doctor, that is entirely uncalled for and unprofessional. Are you questioning me, Davies? Struck rounded on her. I want her gone. I will not work with such incompetence and insubordination. He was practically spitting. My heart ached for Chloe. She was just standing there, trembling, tears now silently streaming down her face. The red mark on her cheek seemed to pulse. It was the mark of his arrogance, his cruelty, Mrs. Davies. Bless her, tried. Doctor, we need to discuss this in my office. It's not the place. There's nothing to discuss, he thundered. She's a liability. Remove her, or I'll go to administration myself and have all of you reviewed. The threat hung heavy in the air. We all knew he had connections. He was a star surgeon, bringing in money for the hospital. With a heavy sigh, looking utterly defeated, Mrs. Davies gently put an arm around Chloe. Come on, dear, she said softly. Let's go to my office. We'll sort this out. Chloe still silent, let herself be led away. She didn't look back. The rest of us watched them go, a sick feeling in our stomachs. Dr. Struck just snorted, grabbed a chart, and stalked off as if nothing had happened, as if he hadn't just assaulted a member of his team. The rest of that shift was awful. The air was thick with unspoken anger and a profound sense of injustice. We worried about Chloe. Would she be fired? Would she be too scared to come back? How could someone treat another human being like that, especially someone dedicated to helping others? My hands were shaking as I tried to do my work, my mind replaying that horrible sound, that ugly look on his face. I felt so helpless, so furious. I went home that evening with a stone in my chest. I barely slept, tossing and turning, thinking of Chloe's tear-streaked face, the red welt. I prayed for her, and I prayed for some kind of justice, though a cynical part of me, the part that had seen too much hospital politics, doubted anything would happen to Dr. Struck. Men like him usually got away with it. The next morning, I dreaded going into work. I expected the same tense atmosphere. Maybe Chloe wouldn't be there. And Dr. Struck would be strutting around like he owned the place, which, in a way, he seemed to. I clocked in, my heart heavy. The usual morning bustle was there, but there was an undercurrent, a sort of hushed expectancy. I was at the medication cart, checking dosages, when I saw Mrs. Davies walking down the hall. She had a strange expression on her face, not quite a smile, but something like grim satisfaction. She caught my eye and gave me a small, almost imperceptible nod. Then, around 9 a.m., the double doors to the wards swished open. And in walked Dr. Struck. He had his usual arrogant swagger, his expensive briefcase in hand, looking like he hadn't a care in the world. He probably expected us all to be cowering, but just as he was about to bark an order at one of the junior nurses, the doors swished open again. This time, it was Mr. Henderson, the hospital administrator, and Dr. Matthews, the chief of surgery. They did not look happy. In fact, they looked like THUNDERCLOUDS. They walked straight up to Dr. Struck. Alistair, Mr. Henderson said, his voice quiet but firm, the kind of quiet that's much scarier than shouting. We need a word with you. In my office. Now. Dr. Struck looked surprised, then annoyed. I'm about to do my rounds, Henderson. Can't it wait? Alistair. Dr. Matthews cut in, his voice equally grave. It can not. You could have heard a pin drop on that ward. Every nurse, every orderly, even a couple of patients peeking out of their rooms, we all just froze. Watching Dr. Struck's face started to do that blotchy red thing again. What is the meaning of this? Is this about that? Hysterical nurse from yesterday? Mr. Henderson's eyes narrowed. We have multiple witness statements, Alistair, including a formal complaint from Nurse Chloe Evans, supported by Mrs. Davies. There are also CCTV recordings from the nurses' station. CCTV. I'd forgotten about the camera, tucked away up in the corner. My heart gave a little leap. Dr. Struck's arrogance seemed to deflate, just a little. He actually looked flustered. It was a minor incident blown out of proportion. She was being insubordinate. Striking a colleague is not a minor incident, Alistair, Dr. Matthews said, his voice like ice. The hospital has a zero tolerance policy for workplace violence. Your behavior was reprehensible and unacceptable. They didn't raise their voices. They didn't need to. The weight of their words was enough. You are suspended, effective immediately, pending a full investigation, Mr. Henderson stated. Security will escort you from the premises. As if on cue, 2 uniformed security guards, big guys, appeared behind them. Dr. Struck looked like he'd been well struck. His jaw dropped. He actually stammered, "Suspended. You can't. I have patients. Surgery scheduled." "We'll make arrangements, Alistair," Dr. Matthews said coolly. "Your concern for your patients should have manifested yesterday, before you assaulted a member of your team." The security guards stepped forward, one on each side of him. Dr. Struck, for the first time since I'd known him, looked small, defeated. He didn't say another word. They just escorted him out. The same way Chloe had been escorted out. Only this time, it wasn't in tears and fear, but in disgrace. The door swished shut behind them. There was a moment of absolute silence. Then Sarah let out a shaky breath that sounded like a cheer. Old Jenkins actually chuckled. I felt tears pricking my own eyes, but these were different tears. Tears of relief. Tears that maybe, just maybe, sometimes the world did right itself. Mrs. Davies came over to us. It's a real, genuine smile on her face this time. "Chloe is all right," she said, her voice a little thick with emotion. "She's taking a few days off. Understandably, but she knows she has our full support. And the administration is taking this very, very seriously." A wave of relief washed over the ward. It was like a heavy blanket had been lifted. It wasn't just about Dr. Struck getting his comeuppance. It was about Chloe. It was about respect. It was about knowing that you could come to work, try your best to care for people and not have to live in fear of being abused by someone in power.